What if the liver doesn't heal the way most people think it does after alcohol stops? The liver doesn't just flip a switch when alcohol stops. It enters a repair process, one that was already overdue. And what happens inside that organ over 30 days is far more complex than most people expect. Because understanding what the liver is actually doing biologically, silently, specifically changes how someone sees their own recovery. This isn't about motivation, it's about mechanism. Before understanding the recovery, there's something most people never ask. What exactly was the liver doing while the drinking was happening? The liver is the body's primary chemical processing center. Every substance absorbed through digestion eventually passes through it. Nutrients, medications, hormones, toxins, and alcohol. When alcohol enters the bloodstream, the liver immediately prioritizes, breaking it down above almost everything else. That process produces a byproduct called acetaldehyde, a highly reactive compound that damages liver cells and drives oxidative stress. At the same time, alcohol metabolism hijacks the liver's normal fat processing system. Instead of efficiently packaging and exporting fat, liver cells begin accumulating it internally. This is how fatty liver often develops slowly, quietly, through repeated disruption over time. But here's what makes this counterintuitive. Fatty liver can develop long before someone feels any symptoms at all. The liver doesn't warn, it compensates. It quietly absorbs the damage, keeping the body functional until that compensation finally runs out. So when alcohol finally stops, what happens first? And why does it often feel like nothing at all? Within the first several days, the liver gets its first real break from constant acetaldehyde exposure. Inflammatory signaling begins to decrease. Oxidative stress starts stabilizing, and something subtle begins inside fat metabolism itself. Without alcohol continuously disrupting normal liver function, the organ slowly starts mobilizing the fat that accumulated inside its own cells. Research consistently shows that liver fat can begin measurably decreasing within weeks of alcohol cessation. It's one of the earliest and most significant markers of early recovery. But this phase often feels completely invisible. The liver has very few pain receptors. There's no signal, no sensation, no feedback. The recovery is biologically real. The awareness of it usually isn't, which means some of the biggest changes during early recovery happen completely silently. But this is where it becomes counterintuitive. Many people report feeling more drained, not less, during the first weeks without alcohol. If the liver is healing, why does the body feel worse? Because the liver doesn't just handle detoxification. It also regulates blood sugar stability, hormone metabolism, inflammatory signaling, energy availability, and nutrient storage across the entire body. Long-term alcohol exposure disrupts all of those systems simultaneously. Sleep architecture becomes fragmented. Blood sugar regulation becomes less precise. Vitamin B absorption, critical for nervous system function and energy production, becomes significantly impaired. When alcohol stops, these systems don't immediately normalize. The body redirects energy toward repair, and repair is metabolically expensive. The fatigue isn't necessarily a sign something is wrong. In many cases, it's part of the repair process itself. So what about the deeper damage, the kind that doesn't just show up on a blood test? Alcohol drives chronic inflammation inside the liver by chronically activating resident immune cells called Kupffer cells. Over time, repeated inflammation increases oxidative stress, disrupts repair, and raises the risk of fibrosis scar tissue that slowly stiffens the liver itself. But when alcohol intake stops, inflammatory activity often begins decreasing relatively quickly. Liver enzyme levels, specifically ALT and AST, which rise when liver cells are under stress, frequently begin improving within weeks for many people. And this is where the liver becomes biologically remarkable. Unlike most organs, the liver retains substantial regenerative capacity. Liver cells can repair and replace themselves when the source of ongoing injury is removed. Fatty liver can often reverse. Inflammation can often improve. Early fibrosis can sometimes partially recover. Advanced cirrhosis is far harder to reverse because scar tissue eventually changes the organ's physical architecture itself. The window for recovery exists, but it doesn't stay open indefinitely. There's one more shift that most people don't anticipate, and it often shows up around weeks 3 and 4. Mental clarity starts returning. This isn't coincidence, it's biology. The liver plays a direct role in filtering ammonia and other metabolic byproducts from the bloodstream. When liver function becomes impaired, those substances accumulate more easily, contributing to brain fog, slowed cognition, fragmented sleep, and emotional instability. Alcohol also disrupts neurotransmitter balance and sleep architecture simultaneously, compounding the cognitive load even further. As liver stress decreases and sleep begins stabilizing, many people notice something unexpected: not stimulation, clarity. Thoughts become less foggy, energy becomes steadier, the nervous system becomes less chemically disrupted. And because the change happens so gradually, many people don't realize how different they felt before until the contrast finally becomes undeniable. The brain often registers liver recovery before the conscious mind makes the connection. So what does the 30-day mark actually represent? Not full healing, but measurable, documented biological recalibration. By around 1 month without alcohol, many people show reduced liver fat, lower inflammatory markers, improved enzyme levels, more stable blood sugar, better sleep, and early signs of restored metabolic function. But the deeper shift is harder to measure than any of those markers. The liver is no longer operating in constant emergency mode. For the first time in a long time, repair is competing with survival and starting to win. The real insight here isn't about the liver. It's about how long the human body can compensate before damage becomes visible. The liver is one of biology's clearest examples of silent adaptation. Damage accumulates quietly, inflammation rises quietly, fat builds quietly, and because the body keeps functioning, the brain assumes everything is fine. Biological stress doesn't disappear simply because it isn't immediately felt. What makes the liver different from most organs isn't how quietly it suffers. It's that, given enough time, without interruption, it can actually begin to undo what it spent years absorbing. 30 days doesn't finish the repair. It just finally points the system in a different direction. And sometimes, that's what recovery actually looks like.